Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football Dill. Sunday night, Chip Kelly off to the NFL. The Ohio State fans who've been rocking with the fellas the last couple of weeks, y'all know what that means. Offensive coordinator hot board coming at you. Dill, I checked out Twitter. I checked out the message boards. A lot of names that the Ohio State fans were throwing out there. And, quite frankly, like if I'm an Ohio State fan, I don't blame you. This is the offensive coordinator job at Ohio State. Arguably the most appealing assistant coaching job you see in the sport. Good things happen to you if you're the Ohio State offensive coordinator. If I am Ryan Day, a very similar conversation that we had 7 days ago when Jim Knowles left. You're calling everybody in the contact list because you know people are going to pick up. There's going to be interest in this job, which allows you to cast a very wide net. Now, who would my first calls be? That's what I want to get into. Before we get into it, as always, to the Ohio State fans, it's been a busy last couple of days and really the last week talking about coaching openings. It's one of my favorite things to do, talk about coaching hot boards. The amount of support the Ohio State fans have been throwing at the boys, it's been amazing. Can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, let it fly in the comment section. Go back 7 days ago, a ton of really intriguing names that you guys put for the defensive coordinator spot. Let it fly for the offensive coordinator spot as well, because I think it could even be more of an exciting list. Dill, I'll start with my guy, Mike Locksley. Identical situation from what we saw with Chip Kelly 12 months ago. And that is, look, Chip Kelly was at UCLA. I think it was pretty clear you weren't going to be competing for national titles. It's kind of clear that the program wasn't really going in the right direction, but an elite offensive mind who Ryan Day can come in and kind of trust to run that offense. Very similar situation with Coach Locks, who I think is a very good football coach. It's hard to win at a school like Maryland. You hire Coach Locksley, and it allows Ryan Day to continue to be that CEO of the program. And if I am Ryan Day and I'm looking at who I want to hire, I'm trying to maintain that. It clearly worked in 2024, allowing yourself to not necessarily not be involved in the offense, but distance yourself a little bit, kind of spread your wealth around the whole program. That's when Ohio State, to me, seems like the most dangerous program. That's what I'm trying to accomplish with this hire. Coach Locksley, I think, could be a guy to do that.
Yeah, and I think there's like I don't think Ohio State can necessarily pay him what Maryland's paying him to be the head coach, but frankly, I think they can get close.
Get up there.
It's a team that obviously, I mean, they have the budget to really be competitive in that world. But also, I look at Mike Locksley as a guy who, at Maryland, I'm not convinced he's going to ever kind of elevate himself into those big, when Florida opens up or if Alabama opens up or what.
This allows Coach Locksley to hit the reset button and say, hey, if you do want to be a head coach at a big-time Power 4 program, your chances of becoming that coach probably better being the offensive coordinator at Ohio State than going 6-6 every year at Maryland.
Because he's hit that point where he's doing well enough where they definitely can't fire him and certainly won't fire him at Maryland, but he's not doing well enough that where he gets any buzz for these other big jobs that pop open. So he's not that old of a guy either. I think he's 55. Like he still, I think, probably wants to take one more crack at getting a huge job and being able to win national championships and kind of go down and really make his mark on the sport. I think you're right. Ohio State gives him a much better path that. And you said it. Like, I think hiring an offensive coordinator, like a premier name, a guy who you don't really need to micromanage, like what Ryan Day had to do with some of the other offensive coordinators before Chip Kelly. I think you saw the fruits of that, especially after the Oregon game, and you saw how much better that defense got, and you heard the rumblings of Ryan Day getting a little bit more involved and trying to fix some things.
It allows him to do that. And that's huge. It seems so identical to the Chip Kelly conversation we had 12 months ago. There's not a lot of programs where you can throw out Mike Locksley as an offensive coordinator candidate with a straight face, and you can with Ohio State. Dill, here's another, and this one is kind of going to be this is how I feel. This is how I feel about it, though. I know Coach Kotelnicki, he's one of my favorite, if not my favorite offensive coordinator in the game, called a great game against Notre Dame. Drew out, he could not complete a football forward plus 10 yards. Look, dude, you get to take over this Ohio State offense and you get much better quarterback play, much better wide receiver play, just an overall better offense. It would take a lot to get. We just saw Penn State do that to Ohio State. Go back and be the bully. I know it kind of sounds a little bit crazy, but I don't think it's out of the question for this Ohio State program to at least kick the tires on Coach K.
No, because Penn State's offense, is it going to be dynamic next year? I don't even know that they have the players to do it. And it's not about his offensive mind or his ability to scheme it up. It's just like they didn't add any wide receivers worth noting. They didn't have wide receivers last year, and they're going to lose their only real weapon in the passing attack in Tyler Warren. So, again, like Kotelnicki is a guy who I look at as certainly someone who's going to be gunning for big-time head coaching jobs, and hopefully the next cycle, I think that's his goal. You've seen him rise up through the UB, through Kansas, up to Penn State. I just don't know that they're going to put up a zillion points at Penn State and really get his name out there in the way that I think he's going to want it out there. So again, it is a tough sell. It's going to be a tough pull because Penn State is a really, really good program and they can be competitive in the ways they need to be competitive. But I don't think it's totally out of the question either.
I don't think
it's Ryan Day, just like pure spite of you taking Jim Knowles.
And it would be a home run hire, in my opinion. I don't know how many better offense coordinators there are in the country. What he did at Kansas, he revolutionized that Penn State offense in one offseason. Really, really impressive. And then he stepped into an Ohio State offense. Julian Sain, Tavian St. Clair, Jeremiah Smith on the outside. That'd be awfully fun. Probably the most realistic name is Kevin Wilson. I don't love it. And there could be an element of I don't love it because it's not super exciting. And I think that Ohio State can make an exciting hire. Now, is always the most exciting hire the best hire? No. Like, this could be a very good hire, and there's a lot of things that make sense about this. Most importantly, Ryan Day, Kevin Wilson, knowing each other quite well, so you get that continuity, get your head coach, OC, on the same page, which is important and sometimes misses with some of these offensive coordinator hires. I don't love it because I think it's a little bit of a settle. Wilson here.
Unlike Locksley, I think the big issue with Kevin Wilson, if you hire him to be the offensive coordinator, you really limit your ability to hire a great quarterbacks coach, I think. Like Mike Locksley comes in, he also takes the quarterbacks room, I would presume.
Yes.
Has done a really good job with quarterbacks in the past and is also your OC. I look at Kevin Wilson, like you need the offensive line coach too. But I think you're on a really good quarterbacks coach for this room because you're going to be breaking in a young new starter, whether it's Tavian St. Clair, whether it's Lincoln Kyle-Holds, whether it's Julian Sain. Like you have three options who none of them have really played any real college experience. I think you want a really, really good coach there. And I don't think you want Ryan Day to need to micromanage that room the way he had to when they had
so it's fair. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
was trying to get the name Corey Dennis from the last.
Yeah, I thought you didn't have the name, so I was trying to just cover for you and move forward. I see where you're coming from. I again with quarterback development, when you have Ryan Day there, I feel good about it. But you make a good point. Do you want Ryan Day so involved in the quarterback room? If you hire Kevin Wilson, you might have to be. Here's another name that I know is really popular with Ohio State fans, is Jason Candle. It's another one of those. Look, he's been a head coach, very successful head coach at Toledo. Again, it's probably not my favorite hire because I do really think that from the MAC to the top end of the Big Ten and that's not a shot at the MAC, I promise you, but I think it's just the truth. And he's been really, really good there. Would he be a great OC? We would see. I'll give you one that I like a lot, Dale. Kirby Moore from Missouri. Yeah. Talk about quarterback development. It doesn't get much better than what's going on in Columbia, Missouri. Brady Cook went from a gritty, solid SEC quarterback to a legit game changer under Kirby Moore. Done a great job with this Missouri offense. He can do you probably get access to better talent at Ohio. You definitely get access to better talent at Ohio State at the quarterback spot than Brady Cook. And that's not a shot at Brady Cook. It's just more like Julian Sain, Tavian St. Clair, different dudes. This one, it's maybe not the flashy Coach K, Mike Locksley, damn good hire in my opinion.
And the only thing you'd probably have to ascertain with a guy like Kirby Moore is what did he do in terms of play calling? Because Coach Drinkwitz obviously is super involved in that as well. So I look like, is he going to be the primary play caller? Is that going to be like split duties? That is the one. But like without a doubt, Kirby Moore has done a really good job, and he's learned from a really smart mind. And I think, frankly, a well-run program with that Missouri team that his. I mean, you look at what Drinkwitz has done with them and where he's taken them. I think he's learned from a really good head coach, in my opinion.
Last one I'll throw out there, Mike Shanahan at Indiana. Any coordinator opening there has been during this offseason, I have included Indiana coordinators. And rightfully so. You look at Coach Shanahan, I mean, there's a similar conversation, like how much is it Kirk Cignetti, who's an offensive guy? How much is it Coach Shanahan? That's fair. On the surface level, this team went, 11-2 last year from 2 I believe it was 2-9 the year before. I don't know if the math, 3-9 maybe, 2-10. It was bad. It was bad at Indiana last year under Tom Allen. He took a quarterback in Curtis Rourke, who was a solid quarterback in the MAC at Ohio, and made him at one point top 5 in Heisman odds in the country. What can you do with a guy like Tavian St. Clair or a guy like Julian Saint? You talk about maximizing the talent and potential of your football team. He did that at Indiana.
Yeah, and Indiana is one of those programs I look at like you just give me a little of that Kurt Cignetti magic, and you put it at a program that probably can really hit at the highest levels, if you will, like Indiana. And I'm interested to see what Cignetti can do there. That's a hard place to win. We know that for sure. Those coaches did a really good job of turning the culture around, turning things over, maximizing players at a really high level. So, again, I'd certainly be okay with taking shots at guys from Indiana. Similar to some of these other coaches, like I imagine Ryan Day would probably have to be a little bit more involved if they go the Mike Shanahan route, because he's not a wildly experienced play caller.
Yeah, and another guy you threw out is JT Barrett, who is rifling through the NFL coaching ranks. That's, again, to me, that's that hire that it probably makes Ryan Day too involved in the offense with JT Barrett, who is extremely green as a coach. Though Ken Dorsey would make some sense to me. Like, I know it didn't work out with him at Cleveland. There's probably a lot of Ohio State fans saying, like, God, no. I think Ken Dorsey, and I don't follow the NFL as closely as I do college. Naming an offensive coordinator who's going to have success with that Cleveland Browns offense. Still, we know Ken Dorsey from the Buffalo Bills. It's a damn good offensive coordinator.
And I know you'll maybe see the headline that he got fired from the Bills. That felt like a classic Sean McDermott panicking, like, oh, I got to find some blame for this team not being what it's supposed to be. That felt like something Sean McDermott's pretty much done through his whole tenure with the Bills. I don't think that should be a reflection on Ken Dorsey. He did a really good job with Josh Allen, I thought.
100%. There's so many good names that we could talk for 90 minutes about.
And the thing about Ohio State is, like, guys who we're not thinking of are probably in play, because it's said it, anybody's in play.
Yeah, someone put Lane Kiffin on the Ohio State match. I don't know. That might be a little bit of an overshoot, but again, the trend of like nobody's off limits, go call everybody. That's where I'm at with this hire as well. We'll sign out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Let it fly in the comment section, and we'll talk to y'all later.